think a lot about how, I guess, why I make such a big deal per se about presidential politics or whatever is how to use a role like that to really actually help a lot of people from where the person is. And that's the reason, among the reasons I talk about having a woman president. It's like I was just mentioning. It makes sense for anyone to have like a more whole perspective on how to accomplish goals. So just like it would make sense for a CEO of a company that's a male to consider to include ways in which women with a different leadership style, even women in their life, their wife, their kids in school, their mom, how they handle situations in a way that is likely different than a man, to keep their to have a better company. So in that same way, and with the biblical example of when Moses and the people were in the desert before they got to their promised land, like a real dangerous concept, in America, manifest destiny and stuff like that. Those ideas and what they let you do to other people. But so before they got to Canaan, across the River Jordan or whatever, they were they got sick or something. And one of the points authors, historians, academics, I picked it up in a book I read called Moses, Man on the Mountain, about the story, like a novel by Zora Neale Hurston, called Moses, Man on the Mountain, where he talked about how the people had part of the reason they walked was because they weren't like ready for the land. They had slave in them. Anyway, I say that to say, when they got sick, Moses held up a snake that he had forged out of copper, maybe, or bronze, and the people were to keep their eyes held up to this image to heal themselves. And I see it, and probably many people do interpret it as a thing of perspective, as a thing of like lifting yourself, as a thing of focus, and using focus to change personal situations, to transform personal tension or whatever, I guess. But like, so that there's a lot of ways one could think about that concept. Now we have the caduceus, they call it, which is the symbol of doctors, which is a similar sort of symbol, or has its root maybe in that. But I say all that to say, so that's why that's among the reasons again I think about how if that would help us have our minds on the appropriate sort of ways to live in a free world, like including, especially not beating up on women. If we can make that, and this is coming from someone with a fucking jacket, with a long story, but if that helps us make that crime zero, then it will help. And because that's what we need to be working on. Rape, violence in teen relationships. Now I see billboards about that shit. Kids beating up on kids despite the fact, hopefully they're getting that from TV. That's not what teen dating is, you know. So, but regardless, obviously, you know, like, it's not one person that's gonna, you know, have this place be a decent place to live and a decent place that you can let your kids out the door and not get an ulcer, you know. And not have to be James Bond, you know. But anyway, and you know, because you know, there's like actually a war supposedly if you got to be James Bond, you know, like behind your kids, like where you're supposed to be working, like the safety's got to come from somewhere, and it's got to start with us really. What is going to help us address equal pay and the kind of mentality that is not, it really is a dangerous mentality that is whatever, that like if the same person, for the same job, a different looking person walks in and they get $6,000 less, they get $9,000 less, they get $12,000 less, because they look different. Like, so, and you know, it's like we gotta have more opportunities really, and those sort of problems take care of themselves. So it's like, rather than like spank somebody or put somebody in jail or slap somebody anywhere on their body, I you know, those kind of opportunities for everybody, everybody knows would take care of the problem itself, you know. But you know, but that's easier said than done, because it starts with our minds, honestly, a lot of help, you know. Because all of this ties back to science. All of this that's the only thing that makes us not be spooked out fucks, you know. So it really does tie back to, well, I just got fucking bejesus in my head, so I forgot like my train of thought. But like matters of like, not like, not biology, but, well, post-quantum, like, scientific, even procedure has to include the scientists. You can't just really do experiments anymore and not include whose eyes observe. Even the shit on a fucking ruler that's like supposedly, you know, like independently, an inch is an inch. You still gotta kind of know who it is that saw 2 inches or 2.5 inches or 2.3 inches. You still almost have to know the set of eyes. Like, there's no, if you look at atoms, a guy that's a twin will see twin molecules. Shit like that. like literally type shit. And this is already observing um, real things which are both solid and fluid, that we don't really know which is which. We don't know if we actually walk or if it's like we're reconstituted. You know what I mean? We don't really know time and space like that. Because our cells are regenerating, there's like a whole bunch of shit going on. If you cry, your eyes, you know, if you bust a nut, you're losing inventory. You have to like replace that. I don't know. My knee is hurting. Almost 11 minutes.